Hey guys, it's Anne. Welcome back to another episode of Nursing Uncharted. Today, I wanted to share with you some of my recently discovered, let's call them mistakes I've made. So, I just started a new contract last week. So, yesterday was my first day off of orientation. And I was able to kind of reflect a little bit what mistakes I've made and that I feel like I shouldn't be making at this point because of my experience. But I do think that the more you travel, the more comfortable you get, the more you think, I can get that stuff done tomorrow. But I learned a hard lesson. So I thought this might be a good opportunity to share with you what happened with me. And then hopefully someone can learn from that. So if you are a travel nurse, you know that there are many steps to getting that contract. And it just really starts when you find the contract and submit for it, you get it. You think, okay, all the hard work is done. You did your interview, the manager loved you. Now you get to just do a quick little checklist of credentialing things and you're all set. Well, you learn very quickly once you start traveling that credentialing checklist is pretty long. You have to do a lot of health. There's a lot of health physical parts of that. So you have to go get actually a health physical, a drug screening. You have to do sometimes even like a vision and hearing test, depending on the facility. You have to get a TB test, fit testing, all of that normal work stuff. And sometimes you have to do that with every single assignment that you take. Even if you take multiple within a year, some facilities don't accept something that is older than 3 months. So there's my scenario. I had to do all of these things, basically start from scratch. So I got all of those health requirements done. I thought, all right, now it's just the easy peasy med tests, whatever they send me. So I opened up the link that was sent to me from credentialing and saw, all right, you're assigned 4 modules. I'm like, no, this will be easy. I'll get it done. No problem. I can enjoy my time before I start my assignment. So to rewind a little bit, I took the week off prior to starting. So 2 weeks ago, I gave myself that week to kind of finish up the last minute odds and ends of the onboarding process. At every travel assignment you get, you're assigned a credentialing specialist. This one that I had this time was actually a very organized credentialing specialist, and she would keep an up to date task list of things that I needed to complete. So every so often, every couple of days, she would send an email with it was a nice little table where, your badge photo's done, this is done, this is done. And then there was just some lingering odds and ends, which ended up being the onboarding modules. So we all know, travel or not, staff jobs, you have these as well. There's the required module trainings that you have to do online, usually on an annual basis. So when you're starting as a travel nurse, like a contract employee, the hospital does require you to do majority of those modules. We'll just call them modules. And when I glanced at it, when I first got the email, I thought, oh, okay, got 4 of these. I can get them done, no problem. It'll take me maybe 2 hours. Click, 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 done, done, done. So it's 2 days before, and I get a phone call from my recruiter, I think, and she just was checking in, just making sure I was going to get this stuff done, and gave me a gentle reminder that these modules are pretty intense. They take a long time, but most of the time you're compensated for these modules. So you submit the hours, how long it took you, and then you get paid for these hours. Well, the most hours you could claim for these modules was 8 hours. So I thought, as nurses, we know we can just click through a lot of those because we've seen it before. It's just with a different logo on it. And I thought 8 hours, maybe 4 hours, I can get these done. So it's now the deadline day. And all of this had to be completed by 11:59 p.m. And I went to the gym, met my friend for lunch, came home. and sat down on my laptop and had the TV on and started clicking these modules. I logged in, opened them up. Well, I realized that yes, there's 4 that are listed there, but when I clicked on them, there was probably 20 to 30 individual modules underneath the main topics. So I did not complete all of these in 8 hours. I will tell you, I was working up until the last minute to get these done. So, my biggest takeaway when I was thinking about what could another episode for this podcast be, and it came to me because I made a huge mistake. I procrastinated, and I shouldn't do that. I'm an experienced travel nurse. I'm an experienced nurse. This is not part of who I am and what I should be doing at this point in my career. But I thought I'm going to enjoy my time, enjoy sunny San Diego, and, just get these done on the last day. Well, I shot myself in the foot and it was awful. So my advice to you is not to procrastinate, for one, but digging deeper into that is give yourself your own checklist. So like I said, this credentialing specialist gave me a very detailed update, more so than I've ever had before. But that still didn't keep me on track because I thought, that confidence in me, I'm like, I'm just gonna get this done. I know what I'm doing. But if I would have held myself accountable with my own individual checklist of, keeping track of what I submitted, maybe doing a module a day from when they are assigned, because I did have 2 weeks to complete these, mind you. Like, things start pretty quickly and they get these going because they are time consuming. And you're trying to juggle that with, potentially moving across the country, finding a place to live, settling into that new place. So they give you that amount of time in hopes that you can slowly work on these. And that's what it's intended to do. And in my experience, I did not do that and I paid the price for it. I got it all done. I started, everything was fine. I didn't have any issues, but I really stressed myself out for no reason. And I was already living here, so I had no other ancillary stressors with this job that I should have stressed myself out to the point that I did. And that brings up, even more about stress with new assignments. A lot of times we're going to a place that we maybe never have been before, or, worrying about, am I going to make that drive across country in 5 days? Or, you have car trouble. There's a lot of stressors that come with starting a new job or a new assignment. So you need to really prepare yourself for success and not make more stress than is necessary. So I now learned that I will never do that again, because this should have been an easy peasy go in. I've been here before. I don't have to worry about all the other things, but I did it. And I created probably even more stress than I from the first time that I went there, which, isn't healthy and isn't why we do what we do. So that's like the biggest takeaway that I really wanted to come on and talk about and call myself out and hold myself accountable. I can listen to this again when I take it my next assignment, who knows where, and realize I will never do that again. The other thing I was thinking about, and this came up in a conversation at the job that I'm at right now with first-time travel nurses. Crazy enough, I was in orientation with all the NICU nurses at this assignment. And the hospital facility that I'm working for, there's a bunch of little NICUs scattered around the county. So we're all placed at different locations, some of which are at like the main hospital. And then, I'm at one, 2 girls are at another, 2 girls are at another. And there were these 2 girls, and it was their first travel assignment. And they're actually from Pennsylvania, and they saw the jacket I was wearing because of an assignment that I took in Pennsylvania last year. And they asked if I worked there or if I was from there. So we just got to talking. They were, younger, first time, like I said, first time travelers. And they were kind of stressed. And they ended up showing up late, because when you get your email that says where to go, sometimes it can be a little confusing. The agency will get an email from the hospital. Sometimes it's their educator. It could be whomever at the hospital is submitting this information to your agency's credentialing department. So personally, I got an email directly from the educator at the facility that had clear-cut instructions on like where to go on your first day, where to park, where to meet, and time to meet, all that stuff. And then I got another email from my credentialing specialist that said the same thing, but it was a little bit more confusing. So these girls actually walked in a little late because the email had shown where a shuttle was and told us to get on the shuttle, but we weren't supposed to get on the shuttle. So it just was a very benign misunderstanding, which was not their fault at all because of the confusion with the two different emails that were sent out. So we were talking about that, and I was saying sometimes that happens, and it's always a good idea to try and arrive where you're going to work a few days before. So if you're moving from Pennsylvania to San Diego, like I did and these two girls did, try to get to San Diego before the day before your assignment starts. Because I think personally from experience, if you're able to just do a drive-by. So the night before, 2 nights before, you get settled, all that stress is now gone. You put it in your GPS and you drive to the hospital. You have a little extra time to drive around and explore. You can find the entrance that they tell you to enter through. You know where the parking garage is. You know how the parking garage functions. You can kind of judge traffic a little bit, or if there's construction at the hospital. Sometimes you you don't realize they just decided to close a road and now there's a detour around it. So to eliminate the stress of trying to find that facility and find where to park and find the entrance to the hospital, the morning of, because you got to be there at 7 a.m., you now have gone there before and can wake up with a little more relaxed feel the morning of and drive there and kind of know where you're going. And I think that has helped me. And I always try to do that when I'm going to somewhere I don't know, because I'm not that I hate driving, but when it's your first day, there's those first day jitters. I don't think that ever goes away. There's some anxiety of who you're going to meet, or what the hospital is going to be like. All of that is normal. You're never going to walk in super confident being like whatever. There's always that little bit of apprehension of what's going to happen. So if you can eliminate the parking, where to go, and like kind of the timing of how long it takes to park and walk into the hospital, that can really ease your first day on the job. And they thought that was great. So if they thought that was great, then I thought maybe someone else out there could take that and kind of eliminate the stress that could potentially be there. And this doesn't just mean on travel assignments. This is any nursing job. We have the flexibility as nurses to go wherever we want. We can switch specialties. We can switch hospitals. We can, decide, hey, I want to move to Florida, for a permanent job, not a travel job. You want to make that first day or those first couple of days as less stressful as possible. So just two little tips that I discovered and talked about in my own experience, just last week, I thought could be really beneficial to listeners out there. The third thing that I want to touch on is this is a return assignment for me. So my travel career started 5 years ago. I've talked about that in previous episodes, but this is the facility that started my travel journey. I moved from Pennsylvania to San Diego 5 years ago, and it's almost 5 years ago to the day, which is pretty eerie if you think about it. I didn't plan for that to happen. It just kind of happened naturally. And, first assignments are scary. It could probably be the best hospital you've ever worked at, but you don't know what to expect. And for me, it was, I've always talked about how that first assignment was maybe not my favorite. So I'm looking at this and the opportunity to go back there as a fresh start, not only in my career, but in my life. I thought when I moved here at 32, I was mature, I was professionally mature, and I was an adult and can handle anything. And me showing up there again 5 years later was like I was a whole new person because I had so much experience in my other travel jobs that now I'm bringing that to the table. I'm not walking in this, confident nurse, but nervous about how the travel world works. So I get to kind of see what the hospital is going to be like second time around and what the people are like second time around. And my life is completely different than it was 5 years ago. I'm on a different path than I thought I was. When I moved out here, I thought I had the package deal and I was going to just continue on in my life and there was my book, my fairy tale ending. But that didn't happen. Life happens. And I was nervous to take this assignment because of all the memories that I thought I would be flooded with. And maybe some episode down the road we can kind of talk more in depth with that. But just briefly thinking about I get a second chance. I get a second chance at a new start. I get a second chance at this hospital. I walked in there and the educator was the same educator. She remembered me. One of the other educators that was there was a nurse that actually precepted me 5 years ago, and she remembered that, and she was so excited to see me. That filled my heart, and it took the pain, and I'll say pain because this has been a really emotional roller coaster for me going back to this first job for personal reasons, not for, professional reasons, but mainly for personal reasons. But to walk in somewhere and people remember you as a traveler and excited that you're back, it just really motivated me to be to give myself that positive talk as I got this and I have the opportunity to start over and to find happiness and make new memories. And it's so cool that it was 5 years ago, almost to the day, and I'm at the same hospital where it all started. And I just think that's really cool. And like I said, maybe sometime down the road, we can kind of talk about that journey a little bit more in depth. But I'm excited and I made mistakes 5 years, 5 years later, I still procrastinated and stressed myself out. But I just think that travel nursing has really changed my life in so many ways, good, bad. I mean, everything. Like I've experienced so much doing this, and to be on like a 5-year anniversary, hosting this podcast, sharing my experience and sharing my little tips and tricks and ways to avoid extra stressors is really special to me. So I hope you can take something from this, and I'm just excited to see how this journey goes. Thank you for tuning in to Nursing Uncharted. You can learn more about this episode and our show on our website at amnhealthcare.com. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend and subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform. You can also find show updates and nursing opportunities on our Instagram at AMN Nurse. Special thanks to AMN Healthcare for making this show possible.